Okay. All right. LEICA. If you're a LEICA fan, you shouldn't watch this. Yeah, you remember, by the way, when I get into LEICA, but remember the video I made yesterday? Sure you do, I hope. Where I was telling you about the huge Ponzi scheme of this German company that had set up all these various resurrections of these lens companies. And they were doing Kickstarters out the wazoo, and they ran off with God knows how many thousands of people's endless hundreds of thousands of dollars. Scam, hardcore scam. Well, that company still exists, and I'm not going to name the company. This is not funny. The company has the same address. It's even listed on the website as owned by the same company that started up all these others, which is NetSE. And same telephone number, same everything. It's the exact same. Even lists that on their website. And they're making these overpriced leather bags for LEICA lickers, LEICA users. Yeah, so that company that was scamming all those people, it still exists, except they're making overpriced camera bags. The exact same phone number as the phone number from Meyer Optic Görlitz. The exact same phone number. Now, I would love to loan a LEICA monochrome camera, but I mean, even a used one's $6,000. Why don't you buy a LEICA camera? Like, here's a LEICA M-mount lens, which I own now. I own a few LEICA M-mount lenses. This is a new 50mm f1.2 Voigtlander. And something else I forgot to mention in reviewing this lens, you know, I said this lens is expensive, but, you know, relatively so. I mean, it's a lot better than a 50mm Summicron LEICA lens. You know how much that lens costs? The lens is $8,000. Not only that, it's poorly made. No way. Yeah, you just Google the search results in that lens, you'll find several people talking about the aperture blades on the lens folding in on themselves. Like, if I bought, well, I would never be stupid enough, not even close, even if I had a bunch of money, which I don't, to spend $8,000 on a 50mm lens, especially one that was poorly made. Oh, but it's a LEICA lens. It's like, you know, LEICA recently went up for sale. I forget, what was it, 50? How many millions of dollars did they want for it? The only reason they didn't sell it is because Hasselblad wanted to buy it. Not Hasselblad. I think it was Hasselblad and Zeiss wanted to buy LEICA. That would have been a great jewel in their crown for Zeiss. But the owner of LEICA wants to maintain 51% of the company, and Zeiss said they ain't having none of that. So that's the reason why it did not sell. It was about like 8 months ago or so that it went up on the block for, offered for sale, excuse me. The actual ethos that surrounds LEICA, now there's two types of elitism. I am an elitist, but there's two types. There's profane elitism, and then there's divine or actually metaphysical elitism. Profane elitism is where, you know, you're like just an evil scumbag driving around in a Lamborghini with a solid gold Rolex and a fancy house, and look at me, I'm really important, I got all this expensive crap. That's called product elitism or materialism. It's called pseudo-elitism in philosophy, true philosophy, that is. The good type of elitism is intellectual elitism, where you are separated out from the rack and rabble who only think about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and, you know, getting rich, and who can they screw over to make more money, and, you know. So there is a good type of elitism. Of course, that requires its own video or videos, but the ethos that actually surrounds LEICA is a hardcore product elitism. Now, the old LEICA film cameras, which are made out of solid brass, I mean, just tough as nails, you could beat people over the head with them. They still work, great camera, but the digital LEICA cameras, there's, you know, they got the same Japanese or German main boards in them as any other really good digital camera. Their failure rate is actually higher than Fujifilm, when Fujifilm is the lowest per 1,000 units. I don't have the exact figures on that, but I do know for a fact that LEICA digitals have a rather decent failure rate. The product or materialistic elitism that surrounds the ethos of LEICA, I find extremely profane. There was another scandal. I won't mention the person because I actually like him, even though he made a big mistake. He's a big LEICA shooter. And he was going to come out with these bags made out of elephant skin. And needless to say, that really pissed off the animal rights people. Yeah, it doesn't piss me off, but I find it gross. And he's like, oh, no, these are going to be made from, like, dead elephants. It's like, no. When there's a demand for something, then you're going to have people going out there snuffing elephants, that are still living. And it turns out that was the case. It's like, oh, so bad. Sorry, we didn't know that. Yeah, these special camera bags made for your ultra deluxe Leica cameras and lenses made out of elephant skin are actually harvested from still living elephants. Harvested is the wrong word. Actually, where they snuff and murder the elephants and then they skin them and then they make bags for your damn Leica camera. There's another example of LEICA elitism. The bad type of LEICA elitism, which is materialistic elitism. It's like, look at me, I've got a Leica, I'm important. Look at this bag, I even got an elephant skin bag. And look at my Leica lens is a Summicron 50mm. You can't afford this crap because you're a poor ass po-folk, and this is a $9,000 lens, not this. I actually find that detestable. There's just way too much elitist filth-mongering. Anytime I type in a Leica fanboy, I mean, you think I got a lot of lenses? I mean, they love to, these are the people that literally, they love to line their Leica cameras up and dust them and pet them and line them up and like a little girl does with her Barbie dolls. It's like, oh my God, I got all these Barbie. You know exactly what I'm talking about because you've seen the pictures of that. I got another important story, but I don't want to give it out too much info. I called up a distributorship on something else that was a scandal today, and the person that runs this Leica store, I didn't say anything other than what I'm talking now, and he says, oh, he told me to F myself and bleepity bleep this, wham! This is a store that does nothing but sell little specialty Leica products. I was actually just trying to get some information. And, oh man, that's sort of elitism. This makes me sick. There's another really horrible story about another person that just reviews Leica lenses, and they used to run you can imagine, what everybody knows what a XXX website is. Not that I go to them, right? But imagine a website that's way, way, way worse than XXX website, right? I'm being this seriously. There's a person that does all these Leica lens reviews and stuff that used to run all these really, really, really dirty, even make a drunken sailor blush. It's like, oh God, that's gross. Whew. It's just, I know this doesn't typify all Leica users. There's a lot of great Leica people that I've talked to. It's like, hey man, I'd love to have a Leica monochrome. I would like to have a Leica monochrome camera, just because nobody else is making a damn monochrome other than Phase 1, and I'm not paying $50,000 for a camera because I don't have that kind of money. But there's this product, there's this materialistic elitism. I got a Leica and you don't. You're just a poor pissant, and this camera lens is more than your house costs. Screw that. There's nothing special about and the people that say they're, yeah, my Leica digital camera will smoke. No, it doesn't. I don't care if anybody owns a Leica. I mean, I couldn't care less. I don't like the disgusting elitism that surrounds Leica. And there's a, Snooty McSnoot Pants, is you imagine exactly what I'm talking about, a really evil scumbag, and they drive a Lamborghini and they go around showing everybody, oh, my gold Rolex, my big house, you're a pissant, and I'm not saying that Leica people are like that, but there is a lot, and there really is an extremely high concentration there of them, It's called a generalization, because someone's going to accuse me in this video of generalizing. But do you know what? Generalizations exist for a reason. The reason they exist is because they're generally true. And a truism is not ever a fallacy, you know? It's kind of like, you know, you're in Florida, it's, you know, gators are in the pond, shouldn't step in the pond. Like, well, you might get eaten by a gator might come up and chomp on you. Like, well, you're just generalizing, you know, that happens. Well, yeah, but it's, you know, there are gators. Anyway, I hate it when people say the word, well, you're generalizing. It's like, what is wrong with generalizing? If it is generally accurate, then it is, by default, a de facto truism, which means it's generally true. Doesn't mean you can set your clock by it, right? But it means it's got a strong ring of accuracy to it. Anyway, yeah, I just seen too much of it on the LEICA stuff. It's just, here's the thing. If some sort of magic wand were waved tomorrow, and like LEICA factory, you know, grew 10 times in size, and all the LEICA lenses and cameras were brought down to the price of a typical Nikon or Fuji or Sony, then it would die as a company. Here, that is the most really important fact. If LEICA cameras and lenses all dropped to the price of every other normal camera, and I do know there's more labor involved, in fact, obviously so. I mean, you know, there's no denying that. But if they dropped in price to everyday, you know, expensive DSLRs, Nikon D5, Nikon D850, then all the elitists would drop LEICA in a heartbeat. They would drop them in a heartbeat. That's actually the surprising thing. Because there's just this hardcore, materialistic elitist that gravitates towards LEICA because, I got a LEICA, yeah, it's really, really expensive. You know? And I know some of the LEICA lenses are absolutely incredible, but there's not a single one of them that's $8,000 incredible, much less even $2,000 incredible. Well, there's a couple that are almost worth $2,000, but those are some big-ass lenses. I'm talking about simple 50s and 45s and 30s, like, oh yeah, this lens is $9,000. Some of them are a lot higher than that, even double that price. And that is just epic BS. The only reason that those cameras and lenses cost that... Here's a fact. This is a bold statement, but I tell you what, it's hardcore accurate. This 50mm f1.2, you've never heard of a Voigtlander aperture blades folding on them. Never heard of it, ever. You'll find quite a lot of examples online of a $9,000 LEICA lens where the aperture blades have folded on themselves. Okay. This lens for $1,000 is far superior construction and consistency from example to example than is an $8,000 LEICA lens. That's the same is true of some like really, really expensive small production run cars. Toyotas are far more reliable than some really expensive, you know, upper price tag cars that are, you know, like, wow, man, you've really made it as a millionaire because you own one of those. It's like, yeah, it's also in the shop all the time, being fixed and tuned and tuned and tuned, and you know, something's always breaking in it. Yeah, but man, I own one of those and you don't because you're just a broke-ass pissant. This is made better than a LEICA lens, an $8,000 LEICA lens. That's not my opinion, that's actually a fact. You won't find a single example of a Voigtlander where the aperture blades have folded on themselves. You'll find a lot of examples of LEICA lenses that have done that. $8,000 my ass. It's just product elitism. This is my salty rant against LEICA. You know, I really don't like inherently hate LEICA. I'd like to own a LEICA monochrome for obvious reasons, but the ethos around LEICA is far too much a snobbery. It is. It's just too much snobbery. I own a LEICA. You can't afford one of those. Step off. Yeah, okay, whatever. You know, when you see an image, you know, the first thing that comes to mind is, ooh, what camera took that image? You know, nobody says that, do they? When you go to like an art gallery, it's like, I wonder what camera took that awesome image. It's like, does it matter if it was a Leica, a Nikon, a Fuji, or a Sony? Nope. do, do, do.